your first book, Creative Dreaming, your first major book, was something of created a major social impact because of the fact, as I understand it, that you went back and looked at the Sonoy Indians of Malaysia and the unique ways in which they treated their dreams and suggested that we in the West might learn something from that.
Well, I think there's no question, Jeff, that Westerners were used to thinking of dreams as something that happened to you, and then you work with them. You work with a therapist, or you discuss the symbols, but you waited till the dream was finished. And what was different about creative dreaming was saying that, hey, you can get ready to dream. You can prepare to dream. You can do something within the dream to change your dream. And people had just never thought about it that way before. And when they began to try some of these techniques, they found, indeed, it made a difference, not only in their dreams, but what happened in their waking lives afterwards.
How did you first develop this approach to dreaming?
Well, some of it, you know, I've written my dreams down since I was 14.
Yeah, you have a collection of 30, 40,000 dreams by now, I understand.
Oh, goodness, I haven't counted them recently, but I'm 52, and there's 20-some volumes of these dreams recorded. So when I was young, I began to notice that just by paying a lot of attention to what was going on in my dreams, things were happening. Yeah. For example, in one dream, one of the characters, a young girlfriend of mine, said, do you know I represent sex to you in your dreams? This is in the dream.
In the dream,
And I said, no. She says, haven't you noticed I always wear shorts? You know, so that at that stage of my life, I guess that was pretty daring. Yeah. But my dreams began to comment on themselves. And that, I didn't realize it, but that was the beginning of what we call lucid dreaming, a dream in which you know that you're dreaming, and you can change the action of the dream while it's happening. Lots of people notice this happening to themselves. For example, one woman told me that when she was little, she often had these recurrent dreams about a witch. And one night she said to herself, this that darn dream about the witch again. You know, I'm not going to wake up screaming. I'm going to stay asleep and see what happens. You know, and just by noticing that you've had this dream before, or saying to yourself, this is just a dream. I can wake up if I want to. While you're in the dream. While you're in the dream. This very special state of lucid dreaming can give you a power.
It's sort of like a cybernetic feedback system or something.
Kind of like.
You become aware of the fact that you're dreaming, conscious of the fact that you're unconscious. Right?
Exactly so. It seems like a paradox, and at first people didn't believe that this was possible. And now, you know, we've had a lot of laboratory studies that have proved that, in fact, some people can learn to do this, can even be trained to become lucid in their dreams. But
is creative dreaming, the way you have written about it in your first book, quite the same thing as lucid dreaming? Aren't there some differences?
Well, there are definitely differences, but I think that one leads to the other.
Yes.
And what I was saying in creative dreaming is that there are many ways to use the resource that's within us. You know, every night when we go to sleep, 4 or 5 times a night, our bodies experience this particular physiological state that has psychological, symbolic meaning, but that we can learn from this. We can actively use our dreams. And that's what I call creative dreaming. That is setting up a relationship.
You know, it's remarkable to think that we spend, most of us, 1/3 of our lives asleep and a large portion of our sleeping lives dreaming, and yet...
Yeah, about 4 years.
4 years of a human lifetime dreaming, and it's usually ignored by people. There's an old saying of the Jewish people in the Talmud that a dream uninterpreted is like a letter unopened. And,
I agree.
Yet most people don't begin to work with their dreams at
That's
all or pay them
exactly
any
so.
credence whatsoever. You obviously recommend that people do just the opposite, that there's a lot of value to be had. Many people, though, can't remember their dreams, or they claim they can't.
Well, you know, Jeffrey, remembering your dreams is a kind of memory skill, and anybody can learn it. You know, unless the person is on heavy drugs or alcohol, there are certain drugs, sleeping pills, for example, will actually inhibit the physiological dream state. And when you go off the pills, then you have this terrible, what we call a REM rebound, with very frightening nightmares. But unless you have this situation where the person is inhibiting their dreams, anybody can learn to remember their dreams. But there's specific suggestions, of course, that I make in creative dreaming. If you want to talk about some ideas, would be.
Well, I think that anybody who's interested in remembering their dreams, just knowing that they can, I suppose, for example, putting a diary near your bed so you can write them down.
A pad and pen is a good place to start. Just deciding that you're going to remember your dreams can help. And one important thing that's helpful is to keep your eyes closed when you wake up.
Oh.
You know, as soon as you begin to move around and open your eyes and get all sorts of other stimuli coming into your system, this very delicate dream recall gets broken easily if you're not used to it. And one of the things that I recommend is lying still and keeping your eyes shut and just catching hold of the last little bit of the dream. And very often it hooks on to the scene before and the scene before.
Well, these are very delicate states of consciousness,
They are,
really.
yeah.